Hey guys, it's Kelsey Cornelio again, here with my fourth set of book critiques. My featured text for this set is The Adventures of Beagle, the Unimaginary Friend, written and illustrated by Dan Santat. This Caldecott award-winning picture book is about Beagle, an unimaginary friend that was just waiting to be imagined by a real child. He waited for so long that he decided to take it into his own hands and go down to the real world. He was very confused by this world at first, since everyone seemed to be so different, until he saw someone he thought he knew. Beagle went along looking for his friend, and in this time, he eventually ran into someone that he fit perfectly with. Alice and Beagle were inseparable, sharing snacks and laughs. Beagle and Alice were forever friends, and the story shows that sometimes even the best friends can come from unexpected places and at unexpected times. I chose this book because it has been read over by many of my classmates, and I have heard nothing but great things about it. And I really like the idea of exploring imaginary friends, since I had one as a child as well. For my first lesson, I would do a second grade English language arts lesson specifically on writing. The Common Core state standard that correlates with this lesson is write narratives in which the students recount a well-elaborated event or short sequence of events, include details to describe actions, thoughts, and feelings, use temporal words to signal event order, and provide a sense of closure. I would have my students write about an imaginary friend or even a stuffed animal that they play with all the time. I would prompt my students with first illustrating a picture of them and their best friend and what they normally do together. Then, using transitional words and temporal signals, I would have my students write 3 to 5 sentences about their best friend and what makes them their best friend. For my second lesson, I would do a second grade social studies lesson that follows the Ohio State Standard. Personal accountability includes making responsible choices, taking responsibility for personal actions, and respecting others. In social studies, second grade students learn about how to become a part of the community, and I really want to focus on how to be a friend to others and taking responsibility for their actions. I would introduce this with a Bunsey that I made myself, including a friend that I made, Bunsey Man, aka Tubbles, for this presentation. The slides that I will now show will prompt the students on their follow-up assignment. Going back to the first slide, it's just Bunsey's a really cool tool to use, and students could even collaborate on this as a project and share it with the whole class. I could make my Bunsey for the whole class, but in this case, I would just use it as an intro. This is a little Bunsey Man animation, but in this, I call him Tubbles. And it says that I've been friends with Tubbles since I was 7, and I would go through and share like why I'm a good friend to Tubbles, listing off these characteristics, and that now this would prompt them for the lesson. They said, I bet you all have a best friend, like prompting them and thinking, what makes your friend a good friend, and why is it important to be a good friend, and what you do that makes you a good friend. So I think this would just be a really fun lesson for the students to engage in as right off the bat in social studies. As a follow-up, I will have my students connect how this ties in with being a functional part of society and the community as a whole. After I formally teach the social studies lesson, I will then split the class into groups of 4 and have each team create their own Bunsey under our class. The students will explain characteristics of a good friend, share one experience of how each of the group members has been a good friend, and how this makes them a functional part of society. Other books in this set include This Is Not My Hat, written and illustrated by John Klassen. The genre is modern fantasy, and it has a Caldecott honor. The humorous book is about a very tiny fish that steals a hat from a very big fish while he was sleeping. In the end, there was a crab that sold the tiny fish out, and the big fish ended up getting back his hat. There is also Once a Mouse, written and illustrated by Marsha Brown. The genre is traditional literature and has a Caldecott honor. This is an ancient Indian fable about a mouse that is saved by a hermit by changing the mouse into something that would not be a threat. The mouse was turned into a tiger, and the tiger became prideful and was ungrateful for everything the hermit did. There is also Officer Buckle and Gloria, written and illustrated by Peggy Rathman. The genre is informational and has a Caldecott honor. This is about Officer Buckle who goes to Knappville School to deliver his safety tips that bore the students. But when Officer Buckle was paired with a police dog named Gloria, the students became more interested in the safety tips that he was talking about, since Gloria makes silly gestures behind him. There is also Fables, written and illustrated by Arnold Lobel. Fables is a traditional piece of literature that has a Caldecott honor. It contains many of the classic fables for all ages, but the greatest thing about this book is at the end of every fable, it tells you what the lesson or moral of the story is. There is also Rapunzel, written and illustrated by Paul O. Zielinski. The genre is traditional literature and has a Caldecott honor. This version of Rapunzel is about how Rapunzel's real mother craves the plant, Rapunzel, when she's pregnant. If she did not get that plant, then she would die. So Rapunzel's dad bargains with the sorceress and ends up giving away the child for the plant. There's also Flotsam, illustrated by David Weisner. The genre is picture book and has a Caldecott honor. This story has no words in it, just very descriptive pictures. The pictures tell a story of a boy who finds a camera on a beach. The boy gets the film developed and sees many peculiar pictures that were taken under the sea by the sea animals. The last picture that the boy finds is a picture of another kid holding a picture, of another kid holding a picture, and so on. In the end, the boy takes his own picture and sends the camera back into the ocean for another kid to find. My last book is I Want My Hat Back, written and illustrated by John Klassen. The genre is modern fantasy and has a Caldecott honor. This hilarious story is about a bear who is in deep despair because he cannot find his hat. He is stressfully running around the forest trying to find it, asking everyone he comes across. When the bear hits rock bottom, he realizes where he saw his hat and gets it back. Here are the resources I use for my standards. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.